am good. Thank you for having me via Zoom.
Yes, yes,
We are
yes.
good. We're here in Queens.
Well, thank you for doing Coffee with Cathy. We don't have coffee here in the sanctuary, but the sanctuary is beautiful. It's amazing. We have
I
lights
can't wait.
and trees and decorations.
So nice.
Yeah.
Well, I did bring a drink because I figured we would want to, So I am going to be totally honest. I've had a long day, so I decided to bring myself a Coca-Cola.
Well, nothing like a little caffeine. A little
Oh
caffeine is
yeah.
good.
Sometimes you just need that little
Yes,
bump a little
you
bit
do. Yes,
just to
you
keep you going.
do. So how are you doing? How's Penny?
Good. We had, a rough couple of weeks. As you start getting closer to Thanksgiving and the holidays and everything, you start, worrying about infection rates and things like that. So we
Yeah.
had a little bit of a scare with a babysitter. Thank goodness everybody is okay and everybody's safe. But it took a lot of nasal swabs to get there,
That's
to say
good.
the least.
That's good. That's good. So, Liz, I just want to thank you again, as always, for all of your good work, all that you have done here at the church, especially with our children, for Sunday school and the children's moment is just, everybody loves seeing the kids. And you've been with us for what, 7 years now?
8.
8 years, yes,
8
yes,
years.
yes. And it's just been great. It's just been great. So thank you. Thank you, thank you. And I know you've been on the road going out with people, with families. You've done some children's messages on the steps here at the church from Staten Island and different places. So how's that been for you?
It's been really fun to actually get to see some of our children face to face. There's this beautiful moment of like, we are here, we're here together, this is so awesome. And it's very exciting to know that like the life of the church is still there despite our, our distance. So that's really, really exciting. And, they're just such a ball of fun. As soon as I am around children, something happens to me where everything else that I was worried about or thinking about is completely gone. It just like is sucked out of my brain. And then I can just be present in a way that I am not always able to do just, with my internal monologue going.
Well, you certainly have that gift, and I've always admired your ability to just lean in and respond to the kids because you just never know what they're going to say, and you're totally at ease.
Feels like, I feel like people don't often ask them the questions. I think people are afraid that they might say the wrong thing. And I think for parents, sometimes it can feel like it's a reflection of your own parenting skills or where your child is in their life. It gets scary when you ask a child to respond. But I've always found it to be super important for them as they develop their public speaking skills and learn how to process their own thoughts. So I've always really loved asking them hard questions. And it's always really fun to hear the things that they say, like when you ask them what is love, or you ask them, just a couple weeks ago we were talking about what is the best thing about sisterhood.
Yes.
And just hearing the way that they think is just it's beautiful because we actually all think that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I love the conversation you had with the birdie boys when they talked about having prayed for their sister, and I thought, how lucky is she that her brothers, and hopefully they'll keep that clip so she can replay it back to them in years to come.
Yes, if it ever gets a little, there's any contention between them, because as siblings, you come from a very big family.
Yes.
I have siblings. We know that it can be challenging at times.
Yes.
And I don't know why I expected the boys to go in a completely different direction. But when they said their sister was a blessing and we prayed for her, I was just, it like shocked me. And I'm always, I'm the crier of the group. So of course I was like, oh, it was so beautiful to hear them and how they understood the importance of that child to the family.
Yes. yes.
It was
Well, and of
beautiful.
course, they knew the difference between pray, P-R-E-Y, and pray, P-R-A-Y. I was
Let me tell you something. Every time I ask students a question, they always flip it around on me. They're like, that wasn't like it shows me like the holes in the question. Like they think it through
yes,
completely.
yes,
And sometimes they come back and I'm like, oh yeah, I should have said it slightly differently. Okay. Lesson learned.
yes,
But
yes,
it's
yes,
just so beautiful to see their brains and
yeah,
how their brains
yeah,
work,
yeah,
and
yeah,
how they're accessing every bit of knowledge that they have
yes,
and trying to find how it relates.
yeah,
So it's just beautiful to see
yes.
that.
Well, Liz, you mentioned about parenting earlier, and I'm wondering if you're comfortable responding to this. Like, what are some of the lessons you've learned about parenting in a pandemic?
I think, well, lots. um, and I'm still learning. I feel like every day is a lesson. And for me, it's been very challenging as a single parent to be in a small space with a child who is growing. You know, I always think about her as my baby, but as this pandemic has continued, I realized like she is not a baby.
No.
She is a human with feelings and thoughts and opinions that might differ from mine. And she might not be very happy about some of the things I ask her to do. But I feel like as she's my only child, some people say that like, you know, your first child, you try to do everything right. You know, you want to make it perfect. You want to make the whole environment perfect. And knowing that she will most likely be my only child, I'm trying to pour all my resources into her, and every moment, like I'm trying to enrich her life. And I was just listening to a podcast where they said you can't forget yourself in these moments, and that it's super important because if you are not looking after yourself, you cannot provide them that rich experience. And they were talking about parenting over the years and how, and different generations parented differently, and how, you know, my parents, they were not on top of us all the time. You know, there were no play dates. That didn't happen.
Right, right.
Things like that. But we are all okay,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and taking that back and saying, you know what, it's gonna be all right, regardless of what choices we make in this moment, because honestly, the kids are more resilient than we are at the end of the day.
absolutely,
We're the ones
absolutely.
we need help.
Yes, yes,
I've been seeing like the kids with the masks on, and you know, so many people like have different feelings and issues around wearing the masks. But the kids, I see them, they wear them all
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Like
They do,
if you told Penny to take it off, she'd be like,
they
why?
do.
You know, these kids, it's not as traumatizing, I think, long term as a lot of us fear.
Yes, yes. Well, we love Penny. I mean, she is just, we were there, right? The whole time you were carrying her, and for her to be in our school, and now she's a big girl. She's a big girl.
It's amazing the way she talks about the church as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, so we were watching Home Alone, and in Home Alone, there's a moment where he runs into the
That's
church
right. That's
to
right.
to save himself from the robbers.
Yes.
And Penny, the thieves said, "Oh, we're not going in there." And Penny looked at me. She goes, "Why not?" And I said, "Oh, well, you know, they're trying to show their character or whatever." She says, "Church is love. They should walk in there."
That's right. Good for her. Good for her. That's why I love her.
Right? She always comes out with these like little gems, but she genuinely feels so connected to the church.
That's great.
And because she was a part of it from, like, she knows nothing but Park Avenue Methodist. Like, that is her only experience. And I am so grateful, because growing up in a very different sort of church where people are often told that they don't belong, or they're told that you need to sit still and quiet, and church isn't going to be fun, and Sunday school isn't going to be very fun, and everybody just needs to be quiet. I feel like what we work on here is creating an experience for our children that is fun and that they look forward to.
Yeah.
And that Penny would be like, oh, I can't wait to see everybody.
Yeah.
It's an important ministry of the church for sure, and it's
Absolutely.
something that I realize I've come to realize is definitely an important thing in my life to be able to provide that for students.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're here in the Advent season. It's hard to believe that we're just a few weeks away from Christmas and the end of the year. And I know we're supposed to talk about love today. And you mentioned something earlier about self-love. And I think sometimes that's the hardest of all for people. So how have you, what do you do to love on Liz a little bit, especially as a parent? Tell me what that's like.
Yeah, so I've been really thinking about self-love because it's really easy to get stuck in this Instagram world of self-care, beauty mask, silk in my feet, and I did a couple moments of meditation, and I'm good. That's self-care. I did it. Check box checked. So what I'm trying to do is something a little more intentional. I am doing a 21-day meditation challenge that looks at what are all the ways that we live and our life is bountiful. And it's preparing my mind for 2021. It's very easy to spend the last couple of weeks just hemming and hawing and, just being like, why us? Why me? I can't deal with this. But actually to flip the narrative and to say, actually, we have a lot to be thankful for. And so, and that we have so much in our lives that might not look exactly the same as it used to, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Right?
Yes.
It's and meditation has often been, for me, something inaccessible. Like I like to run around, I like to move. I'm not. But when I think about it, and I think about the prayers that we have in the church, and the kind of peace and silence, and those moments of quiet in the church when we're all together, and I'm like, oh, that's the moment that we're trying to achieve for 10 minutes, right? And to see where your mind goes and the things that you think about, but still trying to remain like present. It just reminded me so much of our time at PAUMC and how much intentionality we have around our individual selves, and space for us to pray for what we need to. So yeah, I think the 21-day challenge is going to be really good for me.
Sounds great. Yeah.
It's hard. And I've been talking to a girlfriend of mine who is like, she had her baby 3 months before me. She's always like doing everything like a couple months so she can, give me the heads up.
Sure.
And she was talking to me about radical acceptance.
Wow. Of yourself, I'm guessing? Radical acceptance
of yourself, of your situations, of anything that you're in, of the pandemic.
Yes.
Radical acceptance.
Absolutely.
This is where we are.
Yep.
So it's been, and it's not always easy to practice.
No.
Right?
No.
But I've been doing also a lot of writing during this time. And I think the writing, Cathy, you always say you write in the mornings, right? In your prayer journal.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think about that in the mornings too, like what intention and who am I thinking about? And writing does do that for me. It helps clarify so much.
Yeah.
So
writing
that's what
writing
I'm doing.
is a sign for me when I'm in a good space, right? Like when I'm writing my blog or whatever. If I can do that in 30 minutes, I'm in a good space. Even if the world is falling apart around me, but when I can't write, that's a sign. That's a signal that I'm not in a good space. So
then I have a question for you,
yes,
Cathy.
ma'am.
So when you feel like you are in a space where you can't write, what are some ways that like you get out of that space?
Yeah.
Like what suggestions do you have for us who might feel that and might feel stuck?
Well, the first thing I have to do is I just have to stop because I can't pretend, right? And I'm not always able to, I may have a meeting or whatever, but as soon as I can, that day or the next day or what, I have to shut down, right? Like I can't keep going because I'm empty and there's nothing there. There's not a whole lot there. And it will do myself a disservice and other people if I try to continue beyond my capacity. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, I live alone and I don't have pets and all that. So it's easy. I've been a single mom. I've been there and done that. So it's easier for me. But I can't keep going when I don't have anything. And then I have to rest, physically rest, lie on the couch, right? Lie in bed. I just have to stop my body. And then, it's psychologically, I feel like I have then rewarded myself, that I have taken care of myself, right? And so then I'm ready, right? But often when I'm on speed, I can, you can get resentful, right? Because you're doing all this stuff and da 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 da. And sometimes that's self-imposed because we tell ourselves we've got to do whatever and be all things to all people and all of that stuff. But that's not true, right? Often I'm managing the meetings that I'm part of, right? Like I could reschedule and taking that control, really, to say, I can't, or just stop doing email. Like, I don't have to, I do read them most of the time, but I don't have to respond to them right away. I don't. And really, as long as it's in there within 24 hours, it's probably good. And if it's longer, I just said to someone last week, they'd sent me an email and I said, I'm sorry I could not respond sooner. I just was exhausted. And they wrote back and said, I understand completely. So that was a gift of grace to me. So I think, the key is, or part of the key is just being honest with yourself and recognizing your own capacity and then managing it, right? Because we do have more control than we think. And what does that look like?
And our capacity can change, right? So even if we were able to do something 2 weeks ago,
Yes.
It's really easy to get mad at yourself for not being able to do that anymore,
Yes. So for example, I was, when I was deciding about what I was going to do for Thanksgiving, right? And I recognized early, that the kids weren't going to have something, the kids in New Jersey. And then I was trying to decide whether I was going to be with a friend or not. And I finally said, if you can be flexible, then we might be able to do something. Because if there's no flexibility, and if you want to go on and be with other people, I am fine with that, right? Because I didn't know how I was going to be on Thanksgiving Day. And I didn't want somebody to hold up their plans for me. But if I didn't have the capacity to engage, I wasn't going to do it. And the person said, yes, I can be flexible. Then, we were able to do something. But I had to name that up front because what I've done in the past is make a commitment, then be so exhausted that I just couldn't, but then I feel bad. Or I did it anyway, and then I'm sort of resentful, but I put myself in that situation, right? So I do think we have to take some control. And we all have some. Right? Whether you're a single mom or you have pets or whatever, we have some. And so exercising the power that we have over our own being and recognizing that capacity is different, as you say, every day. And sometimes if it's too far out, I can't plan because I don't know how I'm going to feel. And I need to leave some room for Cathy, just in case, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think especially in the field that you work in and with working with children, there is a big drain that comes with that of you are on 10, right? When you're on. And then to stop feels like amazing, but also like you have nothing. You've not because
Right.
you've given everybody everything. Like on Sundays when we used to be in service,
Yes. Yes.
I remember feeling like at 2 o'clock I'd be like, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to feel that anymore because
That's right.
we're not traveling or whatever. Let me tell you something.
Oh yeah. Every
When Sunday
Sunday.
school is over, I'm like,
Every Sunday.
oh,
Every Sunday. Well, because most people really don't have a clue or a full understanding of what else we do, right? You know, and as you know, my theory is all roads lead to Sunday morning. Like everything we do from, you know, right after service to the next Sunday has pushed us to that moment.
absolutely.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, yeah.
And how important it is. Like, so I do a Zoom class every Sunday at 12
Mm-hmm.
o'clock for all the
Mm-hmm.
students. And one of the things that's really interesting is like when they all pour in,
Yes,
there's just like this explosion of
yes.
beautiful
That's
energy.
great.
And
That's great.
so, me and the teachers, Carl and Julie and everyone, we're like, okay, everyone, okay, I know you're excited to see each other. It's all right. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And when they're leaving, they have this different energy that is like,
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
done.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to do more than 20 minutes on Zoom for any
Yeah,
kid.
yeah.
So
That's amazing.
they're like trying to get off, but we're like holding them. We're like, wait, I just have to tell you one more thing.
Well, I,
So we're very so much. So yeah,
yeah,
it's interesting, and I am amazed at how much individual time we're able to create with the students and how much
yeah,
they need it.
yeah.
They do this thing where in Zoom, if you're put in different rooms,
Yes.
in different spaces,
Mm-hmm.
you can request help
Oh,
in the room.
okay. Did a
And you
student teach
send,
you that, or did you know that, Liz?
so I didn't know that at first. And I like panicked when I started seeing these, somebody needs help, somebody needs help. So I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
I messed something up. I must have done something
Mm-hmm.
terribly wrong. And so I start popping into the rooms and it's like, Miss Liz, we have to tell you something. We had the same birthday or we're wearing the same shirt.
Okay.
Can you believe it? And that's like their like moment of pulling us in and saying like I want to have a conversation. But it's beautiful to see how they've negotiated this space. They know how it works. They
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
they
yeah.
know what to get what they need. So
Well, I think
it's
it's just wonderful the work that you and Julie and Carl and the teachers have done. I mean, with these kids on Sunday morning in the midst of this pandemic. I am just so, it just warms my heart that we have so many children and so many parents and families invested in our ministry here. It's really a great and wonderful thing, not only for what is happening now, but for the future and where these children will end up one day, because they're going to remember. They're definitely going to remember the lessons that they're learning now. It's great. It's great.
for sure. And
Yeah.
it's also really a great space for the students to start processing some of the things that they're having problems with as well. So there was right before Thanksgiving, we had our Sunday school class, and I recognized that like some of the kids were talking about Thanksgiving, but they were mostly talking about the things that changed. And I had just had the conversation with Penny that, we're not going to be able to see our family for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And she melted down. I don't know whose daughter she is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Don't know where she got it
Who's
from.
her mother? Let's see.
But I will say, so all of the students were like starting to chime in, and what I basically stopped the class for everybody, and I was like, okay, what we need is I want everyone to raise their hand if their plans have changed for the holidays.
Sure.
And every single kid raised their hand.
Yeah.
And we started asking them, like, type into the chat one word how you're feeling. and sometimes, and it became like not happy, upset, sad. And to name those things,
Yeah.
and to have a space for that, I think is really
Absolutely.
important. And I'm a huge advocate for students to have adults in their life that aren't necessarily their teachers, and also not necessarily their parents.
Yes. Yes.
Who can provide support. Like, I think of you and Kaylin, like how that beautiful relationship you have with your granddaughter,
Yeah.
like it's just so special.
Yes.
And creating those spaces where you can nurture a child that you did not, you did not birth that child,
That's
but
right.
you can have so much power in their lives.
And take them back. And
Say it again?
take them back to be with their parents when I've finished spoiling them for the time. Right?
I like that part a lot. Actually, I should say my mom likes that part a lot. So my mom has been really supporting me during this pandemic a lot in terms of, sometimes you just have a moment where you're like, somebody else needs to do this. I can't do this anymore. So we planned a sleepover for her at my mom's, and we have to take all the precautions and whatever. But my mom spoiled Penny so much. I felt like there were pictures of her like laying on the couch in a robe, in a throne with chocolate milk,
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
And that's like the beauty of having like a grandchild and a niece or a nephew, or you get to like just be fun.
Yes.
And really explore what it's like to be almost childlike with them.
Absolutely. So in this Advent season, Liz, with with the narratives of God's love for us, God coming to be with us in flesh, to love us and show us what love is like. What are you hoping for this holiday season? How will it be different? Not just physically different, not just the traditions and the things that people will do differently, but what will it be? How will it be different for you?
I have, because traditions in my family, like, we have a big Latino family, like we're just like in each other's houses, it becomes very much about the people that you can fit in the space. And what I'm hoping, and what my goal is to extend that group of people, and find ways of reaching out to people that maybe I wouldn't normally spend Christmas with.
Yes.
Or I wouldn't normally see during this time. We have so many parties and so much that goes on, and we have plays and things. So I want to find a way, and my dear friend Keith, love you, Keith, I hope you watch this, has been my friend since like we were in high school. And I reached out to him last week and I was like, let's find time to go have a friend date and be, socially distant.
Yes.
But like, I want to see you.
Yeah.
And he's such an important person in my life, but I don't get to see him all the time.
Yeah.
And we create these spaces where everybody's all together, right? So we always have like a big friend holiday party that we're not going to be able to do this year. And you get to talk to some people, but you might not get that deep conversation with everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm trying intentionally to have socially distant and responsible meetings with friends that I might not normally have that time with. And I have to say, it's been incredibly enriching. We've been able to have really hard conversations.
Good.
Sometimes about it's beautiful, and sometimes it's hard to hear. Friends being like, sometimes you're not very good at answering the phone.
You're doing self-care.
I'm busy. I got my mask on. I can't. But it's been really beautiful because we've had those moments, those quiet moments of, just like being able to talk about our families and the struggles and
Yes.
who's sick and who's missing and who's gone. And it's actually developing, to me, I think, deeper relationships.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Liz. And when you were talking, it made me think about, if more of us would be intentional about reaching out to people during this holiday season. There's so many people that are alone, that can't go to be with their families or whatever, and the depression rate is going to be higher than usual. That sense of loneliness, right? And how to be intentional about reaching out and connecting one way or the other, right? Whether it's physically in person, but just making sure that the people that we love remain on our list. Just because we can't gather in the big gatherings doesn't mean that we should neglect to love on one another, right?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about something. I think I told you last Sunday. There was this moment where during the service, you encouraged us during the passing of the peace to reach out to people maybe not in our space.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to text somebody. I'm going to text somebody right now.
Yeah.
And I texted Rebecca Ashley because I was like, I want to pass the peace to Rebecca. I'm going to text her right now.
And I know she answered right back, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And our kids are so close. It's so good to like have that relationship.
Yes.
And it's also just so great to stop and intentionally think about who I want to text next week.
Yes.
And who I want to text the week after.
Yes. And that's that's finding a kernel of good out of the pandemic, is that we've been more creative in the ways that we are being in touch with people, right? Like we're having to do that. We're having to figure it out. Yeah. I know it was one of my hopes when we first got shut down and we started the small groups, is that no one was outside of not being connected if they wanted to. Right now, I know that small groups are not for everyone, but that, everyone had that opportunity, and we created that safe space for people to be in contact with other members of the church. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's been really such a beautiful time too, because on Sundays often we will all come in and we'll all leave at the same time, and we have the big gathering where we don't necessarily get to talk. So I've been using this time to reach out to some parents. That's just to have those like those very real conversations about what it's like to parent right now, what is it like to be a member of the church right now, and what do I need and what do I not need.
Yep.
Maybe,
That's right.
you know what, Zoom Sunday school, too much, can't do it. And I love the parents who are like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I get it. They're on Zoom all week. Maybe they don't want to see us. That's fine. No harm, no foul. It's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But just like having those moments of connection, I think have been important for sure.
Well, thanks so much, Liz. Thanks for all that you do. Thanks for your love to me and the rest of our staff and to our community. It's great. We love you back. And we'll see you soon.
All right, Cathy. Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.